Officially call this meeting to order at 4:02 p.m. At least I believe that it is 4:02 p.m. But we're going to go ahead and jump in first with roll call. So going down the list, Senator Heber Miriam. Senator Heber Miriam. And if people are on Zoom, please raise a hand or say something in chat. And then Senator Sharaf. Thank you. Senator Larson. Thank you. Senator Woldekainen. Senator Woldekainen. Senator David Wing.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Demenji. Thank you. Senator Victor Wynn. Thank you. Senator Roberts.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Wenzel.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Rivera. Thank you. Senator Nickwin.
Alive.
Wonderful. That is great news. Senator Nurales.
Present.
All right, thank you. Senator Berhanu. Senator Berhanu. I do not see a Senator Berhanu here. Senator Destin.
Alive.
Amazing. Like to hear that people are alive. It's good news. Senator Atmaker. Thank you. Senator Mendez Martinez.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Hawk. Senator Hawk. All right. Senator Zigweed.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Mesta.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Mueller.
Here.
Thank you. Welcome. Senator Parikh.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Tamim. Thank you. Senator Blanchard.
Here.
Thank you. Senator that's very sad. Senator Ja.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Roiger.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Andrea.
Here.
Thank you very much. And welcome to you as well. To our two new friends. Am I pronouncing your last names correctly?
Could you say it again?
Andrea?
Andrew.
Andrea.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Speaker Novak, that's me. President Zelmer.
Here.
Thank you. Vice President Ibrahim.
Here.
Thank you. All right. Amazing. Then in that case, we're going to keep rolling. And first up, we have presentations. I will say there was a slight mistake, which is that we do not include on the agenda the very first presentation today from Cindy Janey. It's Cindy Janey from Residential Life is here. I do not see Cindy Janey, so then in that case, is she over Zoom?
Nope.
Okay. If Cindy Janey comes, she may present, but we're going to go ahead and go to Jaden Moore with Project Connect.
This one work? No? Okay.
You guys may start whenever you are ready, and we allot 10 minutes to presentations, followed by questions.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for letting us be here. My name is Jaden Moore, and this is Megan Paul. We are both the Project Connect coordinators this year. I'm just going to send around a flyer. It allows you guys to go to our website and look at everything that we don't go over through today.
Can you all hear me? Perfect. Okay. As Jaden said, my name is Megan Paul. I am actually a graduate student, and I work down in health services. So why Project Connect? I am a intern down in health services, and I work as a mental health intern. Last year, I saw a lot of students, and many of which had a lot of issues with depression as well as loneliness. And my supervisor, Jody Eglund, and I were trying to come up with a solution on how to get students more connected to each other, especially since COVID. And a lot of students didn't really have anywhere to go or anyone to speak to. This is how Project Connect kind of took on its own life. As you can see on the PowerPoint, I think, in the UCLA loneliness scale, 48.9% of MNSU students indicated that they were positive for loneliness in the spring of 2022, which coincides with the students that we were seeing down in health services.
Excuse me, sorry.
Sorry, 1 second.
Give me 1 minute. Okay, you can be good.
We're good?
Yes.
Okay. Loneliness makes students vulnerable to depression in the present and predicts future depression. And that was a really big reason why we wanted to start Project Connect and started thinking of ideas of how to get it started here on the MNSU campus. So how did we get funding for this project? Last year in 2021, the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities had a huge mental health initiative, and they allowed universities to apply for a grant, which we did down in health services, and were rewarded $39,000, and we were able to start Project Connect. The majority of the money that we used was actually for money being spent on student salaries. When we talk about student salaries, we are referring to the undergraduate students that we hired who are now Project Connect facilitators, as well as funding to have training. So we did mental health first aid training as well as a Project Connect training. Our problem lies, though, that after this year, we no longer will have funding because it was grant funded. So we would love to have some suggestions on how we can continue Project Connect here at the Mankato campus, because we have found that it has been very successful for a lot of our students. That has helped them have a way to feel connected to the campus as well as other students. Jaden wants to take over.
All right, so what is Project Connect? Project Connect is a peer-led group, so our facilitators are leading these groups. It's 5 weeks, we meet once a week, and we just, this is a great way to form deeper connections, build friendships, meet new people. It's I'm leading 3 groups this semester, and I've heard amazing things. They talk about how this is like a safe environment for them, how they've been really struggling since COVID. They feel like lonely. They don't know how to talk to people anymore. They don't know how to make those friends. And they feel, already we're on week 3 or 4, and they've talked about how they feel more confident, more like close to people, and they want to like keep bringing that to the university with everyone. Our stakeholders, you guys, we have student government, which we really appreciate that. It's amazing that you guys are supporting us in mental health initiatives. We have the International Student Association. We have Residential Life. And without you guys, we won't be able to do this. So to measure the effectiveness on how, like, we know if this program is working or, like, if we're reducing loneliness on campus, how we're going to do that is we're going to use the UCLA Loneliness Scale version 3. And then the participants completed this when they started the program on week 1, and then they're going to complete it again after. So when week 5 is done, they're going to complete this before they leave. And then Dr. Roy Kammer, he's going to assist us with evaluating the results, see if this was effective, if it wasn't. I'm really excited to see the results and just see if we've been able to reduce that loneliness on our campus. And that is it. Do you guys have any questions?
Yes, we'll now open it up to if anybody has any questions. Do we have any questions? President Zelmer?
How many students are a part of the organization or come to the meetings?
Come to the meetings?
Yeah.
So we want when we opened this up for them to like join and ask to be in a group, we said 4 to 7 students, just so that we're not, like, people feel that they can like open up, safe environment. So we had all groups full. Right now, I would say we have about 30 students actively coming every week.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions? Any other questions? And seeing none, we will go ahead and move on, unless anybody has anything else. Nope. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Motion on the table from Senator Roberts.
A point of personal privilege. Can I request in the future when for IT solutions, when we have PowerPoints, that we can have them fully put on the screen? It does make it really hard to read these PowerPoints when they are smaller and not full screen on the screen.
IT solutions, you can respond to that if you wish. Thank you very much. That's amazing. Brian Schneider, I'm very sorry. Yes, okay. I was going to say, I know that we have a presentation from Cindy Janey.
So can you make it do the thing?
They'll do that.
Yeah. You may go. Sorry, I was very unclear in that statement. But Cindy Janey, if you wish to present, you may absolutely go.
Thank you. I had asked Brian to help me get my thing there.
Very understandable. Yeah, sorry.
And so there we go.
Nice.
Magic has occurred. In just a second. Oh no, I can click it forward from here.
Yep, just use it. New fandangled stuff.
That's awesome. Hello, Senate. It's good to see you. My name is Cindy Janney. I'm the Dean of Students and the Director of Residential Life. And I'm here to present to you on residence hall rates and the consultation process we use as we're setting rates and gathering student feedback for next year. Okay? An overview of what we're going to talk about are these 4 items. First of all, what are room and board? Board equals meal plan. What are those rates? What's the student consultation process? How do we define that? What changes have come from this process in the past? And then what's the next thing after today? So board equals meals. So I try to remember to say room and meal rates, but when I don't remember to say meal rates, if I say board rates, that means meal plans. Okay? It's a medieval term from the days when people would sit down and somebody would put the board across their lap and they'd set their dish on the board. We're a little past that, so room and meals. Okay, room rates. What are those? They're the fees that students pay to live in university supervised housing. So that's going to be Crawford McElroy, Julia Sears, Presca, and also Stadium Heights. Okay? What do room rates cover? More things than apartment rent listed here. So the room and the furnishings, utilities, so that's power, heat, cooling where cooling is offered. We currently have 2 places, Crawford C and McElroy G, that don't have cooling or air conditioning. Future plans to address that. Cable and internet, or our streaming entertainment is offered, it's all through the internet now. Laundry services, water, sewer, trash, recycling. If you live off campus, that's usually a separate bill. Common area amenities, the cleaning and the maintenance of common areas. Services at front desks, also res tech services is in the residence hall room rate, and then staff supervision. What do meal plan rates cover? All of this. Excuse me. I listed out for awareness because, we all go to eat somewhere, but we don't necessarily think what all is included in that, what we're paying for our meals. Food, staff to plan, order, make, and serve the food, staff to clean up, maintenance of the dining equipment, utilities, water, electricity, gas, cleaning and maintenance of dining spaces, disposable items like cups and napkins, composting. I've been to the 7 in the morning, truck picking up the food waste that's going to go get composted. Very exciting management activity. Utensils, pots and pans, to-go containers, also computers, cash registers, and software licensing. All of that is in the meal plan rate. So when we're setting the rates for next year, we have to look at our current expenses, we have to look at our projected expenses for both room and meal plans. We have to determine rates that are going to cover those expenses and also meet our responsibility for reinvestment in facilities. We consider new services and amenities that students may want. I just, on Monday, went to the Residence Hall Association's meeting and asked them to begin thinking about what things they might want, and already got a couple of ideas. And then we set rates to meet those needs. A question that comes up is, at some point, usually in the springtime, the legislature might start talking about a tuition freeze. So what if there's a tuition freeze, and what does that have to do with room and meal plan rates? Well, some definitions help. Tuition is for instruction and university services that support instruction. All students pay tuition. Tuition's therefore a required fee, and tuition dollars, sadly, do not come to residential life, but logically do not come to residential life. The room and the meal rates are a fee that a student who's choosing to live on campus then pays for that service. Students are not required to live on campus, so therefore it's not a mandatory fee. So a tuition freeze does not apply to room and meal rates. Okay? So you'll get this presentation afterwards to have it in your minutes, and that may help you if you're talking with other people or just want a refresher to walk through the steps to understand that. The residence halls and the student union are part of the revenue fund, and that was an organization that was chartered in order to build all these buildings post-World War II. They're like individual businesses within the university. Okay? So residential life holds long-term debt, kind of like a mortgage for a house, on buildings that we've opened since 2008. That includes Julia Sears, Presca, and the University Dining Center. The other buildings are paid for. There's not a mortgage that we're still paying for those. So part of the student room rate goes toward those debt payments. Students are kind of always paying it forward for the next generation of students. and receiving the benefits of the last generation of students that paid for something they're using now. Okay, what is student consultation? So the university shares information with student leaders, both in the Residence Hall Association and with you here in Student Government Senate meeting. You ask questions, you provide input. Students will vote on recommendations, and that will be the Residence Hall Association General Assembly group will vote. They're representing Residence Hall students at a rate of about 1 rep to about, say, 42 students, approximately. The Board of Trustees is the body that has the authority to set rates, so they will consider the rate proposals that we make. They'll consider student comments on feedback, and then they'll make a decision about that. That usually happens in about June. I like to do this consultation process in the fall, because then we can publish our proposed rates over winter break, and that lets students and families who are looking at coming to Mankato next year have this information 8 months ahead, and that supports their planning. The Board of Trustees wants to see evidence that I didn't just go cook this up in a room by myself, but that I've shared information with students, and students have had opportunities to ask questions and dig in. So I'm just going to jump to the third yellow bullet down where it says student government sends a letter to the Board of Trustees describing the consultation process. That is something that not all campuses have the kind of active Residence Hall Association that Mankato is fortunate to have. So, and some of them don't have a Residence Hall Association at all. So the Board of Trustees says, hey, every campus has a student government, so we want to hear back from student government. So what we've done here is develop a process. A number of weeks ago, I met with Presidents Zelmer and Sierra, I don't know how to say your last name. Roiger. I don't know if it was Roiger or Reuter. So Presidents Zelmer and Roiger, and developed a timeline that would meet the needs of both groups. The Board of Trustees will make the decision. So the first thing we do is set up the process. We've already done that. We do presentations to I guess. I do presentations to RHA and to this group, and kind of go back and forth a few times between the groups. And then RHA will vote, make a recommendation to this body, and then RHA President Roiger will make a presentation at the end of the semester with that recommendation. Okay, what has this process achieved in the past? This is a list of all the things that students have recommended in the past that, we investigated. What would it cost to have water bottle fillers on drinking fountains, and what happens to rates? And so what I ask my staff to do is to take a proposal, figure out how much it will cost. We divide it out per student, and then RHA representatives will vote on, do I think it's worth it to pay X, for each student to pay X amount more to get this benefit? And we set this process up in a way that they can take the presentations back for floor meetings and get input from people on floors. I say free laundry here. It's of course it's not free. It's built into the room rate, but it means nobody has to fool with quarters. Nobody has to fool with cards. It just, you go in, the machines are there, and you can clean your clothes. Okay. Last year, we're still in COVID, but maybe we're past high COVID. So a lot of campuses had residence hall associations that really fell apart through COVID, and we're fortunate that that's not what happened here, and our students were able to remain engaged. And at the same time, the kinds of things there weren't like groundbreaking new things getting voted on. So last year, the desk checkout supplies passed again. That's $1 per student to get stuff that you can be checked out at each desk. I shared with the RHA General Assembly on Monday that if you're living on campus now and you want to have items at the front desk that you can check out, there's still money in those accounts. So you can go to your desk and you can talk to a hall director, or you can ask for the SSC at a front desk and give them those ideas for your area. The other one that passed was the RHA promotional item. And this, my understanding, again, in part because of COVID and challenges, we're a little behind. The student group is a little behind on getting this distributed to residents, but the item is coming soon. Okay. Improvement ideas so far. Forgive me, I did not update the presentation with, I had someone taking notes for me on Monday about the things that got raised in that meeting, and I didn't get those into this presentation, but there have been a few items that were raised by that group. I said hot tubs on every floor. People laughed. But I was trying to get them to dream a dream. Like, you don't have to be practical initially. You can start brainstorming, and then the time to get practical is later. But if you're editing your ideas before you even start, it's hard to get started. So I asked, what are your ideas? And then those ideas will come to me. I'll work up the cost per student. RHA will vote. So the next time I come back to present to RHA General Assembly, and then also to this group, we'll work on budget assumptions for next year. I have a budget officer who has been toiling away at this. I'll share with you what I'm proposing for a base rate for next year. Now, if you're listening to the news, you're hearing inflation, inflation, inflation. Yeah. It's not going to be a very fun year for me to propose, and it's not going to be a fun year for you to listen to it because there's inflation out there. Also, I'll present for the improvement options that I've heard about and that I've been able to work up costs for. I'll share the first draft of that. So that's October 24th and 26th. In the meantime, in between, next Wednesday, if I have it right, you'll hear about, in this organization, you'll hear later about the Student Affairs Committee has invited me to come and offer an opportunity for anybody who wants to dig into the Residence Hall budget a little bit more. What I'm going to share in these presentations are pie charts. There might be, $6 million in a slice of a pie. And you might say, well, I wonder what's in that slice. And that's what we can spend some time on for people who want to hear it. Maybe you're a business major, and that kind of goes right with your major. You want to understand what's kind of underneath the hood. We'll talk about that next week. If we need to set a second time, we can do that as well. If you want me to stand for questions, I will.
I absolutely would love that. And in fact, I already see that we have a question from Senator Roberts.
Okay.
My first question is, what is the debt? What's the remaining debt on these buildings?
Okay, so the system office has given us a requirement that we build to about 100-year standards so that the building may survive for 100 years, and we pay it off in 20 years. It's really challenging. I would submit to you that I think most of the off-campus housing is built to a 15 or 20-year standard, and they have 30 years to pay it off. Right? Doesn't make sense. So we're really doing a responsible thing. We're trying to build a really good building, and we're trying to pay it off quickly. So the debt for the 3 buildings that we're paying for right now, let's just call it somewhere between $5.9 and $6.5 million a year. People who come to that meeting next week will get to see this, how it maps out across a number of years. And those will be paid off kind of in the early 2030s. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Senator Roberts, is your second question related to your first or no?
It's another question.
Then in that case, I'm going to bounce it over to Senator Mueller first and then come back.
Yes, so with the mortgage or like the debt for the buildings, I know that like student fares goes into paying this off. As this mortgage decreases over time, will the fares also decrease, or will they stay constant until the mortgage is paid off?
Okay, so generally speaking, the annual payment is constant. I gave you a range because periodically we have an opportunity to do a little refinance kind of a thing, and in cases where the interest rate had gone down, we were able to save a little money. That won't be the case anymore because interest rates are on the rise. So to pay a constant, let me call it $6.5 million a year, students need to pay the same rates. Now, the question is, after all that debt is retired, what's the status of the buildings? Do we need to reinvest to continue to meet student needs going forward? I could take till about midnight and tell you a lot of things that I would like to fix in the residence halls. Things I know of from student surveys, from incidents, things I've heard of from our repair staff, things that are concerns. I'm not giving you a list tonight of all the things that are on my, next 10-year plan for what to fix, but there's a lot. So it's an option in 2032 to say, or whatever that exact year is, to say, hey, what do we do? Do we lower rates, or do we try to do a new thing, or do we do some combination? So yeah, at that point it's an option. Yeah, good question. You might be familiar with the concept of people my age, like if the house is paid off, then they renovate the kitchen, or they build the garage. It's kind of like that. Our original buildings are paid off. Crawford, A, B, C, D, Mac, E, F, G, H, Prescott, I. And so the fact that those are paid off has helped us be able to invest in these new buildings. Yeah. Good question.
Thank you very much. I'm going to pass it back to Senator Roberts.
In terms of this year's fiscal year budget, is it balanced? And what I mean by that, are you profiting? Is there a world in which you are currently profiting a little bit off of the current rates, or are you not? Are you running deficit? Is it balanced?
Sure. I never profit because I'm a state employee and I just make a salary. So there are no boats at my house. There's no vacation homes up north. So I and my staff don't profit. However, I am a steward of residence hall student money. And the goal is to bring in more revenue than we have expenses. When there's more revenue than expenses, then what happens with the extra revenue? That money goes into reserves, which is a fancy word for savings account, and then it gets reinvested in buildings.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Senator Destin.
So my question is around room and board. So I understand that most of the residence halls, they have like a kitchen. Can the student choose to live in a residence hall without having a meal plan?
A student can choose to have a housing contract and have a $250 per semester dining dollars contract if they make that choice very early, like in the first 2 weeks of the semester, the fall semester, a person can change their meal plan. They can do it then.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So can they choose not to have a meal plan altogether?
No.
Just to pay for it?
No. And let me amend my answer also. Students who live in Stadium Heights can choose to have the $250 at any time because of the distance from campus. The background of this is to say, if we want to have a dining service for our campus, and we do, we hire a company to run that. And so by saying, here's how many people live on campus, this is how much money you have to work with, and they can say, aha, then we can hire this kind of a manager, this is the amount of staffing we can do, this is the kind of meals we can plan, so that this requirement allows planning to occur so that meals can continue to be offered. And then I'll just tell you that this whole thing got really messy during COVID, when we were saying, okay, everybody goes home and we're going to mail you a check after we figure out how to do that. And we gave out millions of dollars of refunds. We were fortunate that there were federal rescue monies coming in and that Vice President Straka was able to allocate some of those to the residence halls. Really fortunate. We didn't get as much money from that as we gave back to students, but we did the right thing, and we think we're on the other side. Yeah.
Senator Roberts?
This is going back to the earlier question. What is that reserve? How much do you have in reserves right now?
I don't know. I mean, I know if I have the page in front of me. So the amount that we have in reserves is, I can find out, and if you come to the thing next Wednesday, you'll see it and you'll see the plan going forward. So there is the system requires us to have a restricted reserve amount that will, if the bad thing happens, we've got some money, so we don't spend our savings down to zero. And so we maintain that restricted reserve and, look, the bad thing happened with COVID and we're still okay. So then the unrestricted reserve is the balance of that. So when we're looking forward at projects that we need to do, we plan those out of our savings account, out of our unrestricted reserve. So this is the idea that if you have a house and you need to get new windows for your house, you're not taking out a loan to get the new windows, you're paying for them out of your savings account. That's how we're managing our projects. So windows, good example. We've got some 60-year-old windows, 60, 70, 63, 64-year-old windows. And if you look at E&F halls, they have a side that faces the north. That takes the worst brunt of the Minnesota weather. So we have plans over the next couple years to replace those windows. And that will cost some money. That will come out of the restricted reserves.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I see another question.
Just to follow up on that.
I hope you come on Wednesday.
I will.
Okay, good.
What's that percentage? I know generally there's a percentage on restricted reserve. So what is that percentage?
MNSCU doesn't Minnesota State Colleges and Universities system. Forgive me, I say MNSCU as they're shortened for the long name. They currently refer to the system office as Minnesota State. It's not set up as a percentage. It's set up as 2 months of expenses less food service. Yeah. Probably should include food service too, because it's not like, I think the idea was that a tornado came through and somehow everybody went home. But, I can tell you that even through the worst of we housed students 24/7, 365 all the way through. There was never a moment in the pandemic when we didn't have residents. So.
Do we have any other questions for our guests today? Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure.
Sure. Can I ask Sierra, would you email this? No, I'll do it. I'll send this to Emma.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks for your service to students in representing them.
Say thank you. All right. Then in that case, moving right along, we're going to jump in with open forum. Do we have anyone here for open forum? I see Scott. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Scott Nelson, Athletics. Missed the last couple weeks. Apologize for that, but good to see you all again. This room's getting more full, which is awesome to see. Busiest weekend of probably the year in terms of Maverick Athletics. We have 9 home events over a 46-hour span this weekend, starting Friday at 3 o'clock and going through Sunday at 1 o'clock. So a little bit of something for everybody between soccer, volleyball, men's and women's hockey, football, and diving. The swim team is going to be in Rochester, but the divers are going to be here. So a little bit of something for everybody this weekend. Really looking forward to SAC and student government joining together at football and men's hockey on Saturday to get out the vote. So looking forward to that. Grace, thanks for a great presentation last week at our joint meeting. I know it was really well received by our student athletes. So looking forward to working with you guys and all that. And lots of opportunities to see the Mavericks this weekend. So hope to see you guys at some games. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
Awesome. Have a great day.
Have a wonderful day to you too. All right, do we have anyone else for open forum today? Yes, Brian.
Hi there, Brian Schneider from IT Solutions in the City Council, and I do have a proclamation that the City Council and Mayor Massad passed last night. Mayor Massad could not be here to tell you this in person, but she asked me to present it to you. This is for an Extra Mile Day proclamation that's going to be coming up November 1st. And the way the proclamation reads is, Mankato is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Mankato is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals' organizations within the community to go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Mankato acknowledges its mission of being an Extra Mile America city, which is an organization trying to get 550 cities together to go the extra mile on November 1st. And therefore, Mayor Najwa Massad do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2022 to be Extra Mile Day, and she urges each individual in the community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in their own lives, but also to acknowledge all of those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, family, and community, the country, and the world a better place. So I hope you take some time to either acknowledge somebody that's really going the extra mile or does that on a routine basis, or doing something yourself to go the extra mile on that day. Thank you.
I'd like to acknowledge you for going the extra mile every day and not only being a wonderful tech solutions man, but also being a city council member. So big round of applause to you for that. But do we also have any questions before you leave? Sorry, knew we did things out of order, but thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. All right, who else have we got for open forum, if anyone? No one else for open forum? All right, then in that case, we're going to move right along to the approval of the consent agenda. This is also the period of the meeting where if anybody has any motions to bring forward. Motion from Senator Blanchard.
I would like to move that we change vacancy elections before senator reports, just for the sake of time, because there's a lot of them today. And in case it goes over, I want to be fair.
All right, very well. That would require a second. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I'm taking a second from Senator Roberts. We are going to do this one by a simple raise of placard. If you are in favor, raise your placard, and then I'll ask if we have anyone opposed. Looks like it is unanimous. So we will be moving the vacancy election before senator reports for today. Passes at that amendment passes. Do we have another motion on the table from Senator Roberts?
I have the motion to recall last week's election for the purpose of equity, as some voters online did not receive the opportunity to vote in that election. This is no offense to any of the candidates. This is just to have an equitable and fair election.
All right. In order for this motion to be considered, we would need a second, and then we would enter a period of discussion before voting on this. I will shed a little bit of light on this before we move into that, in that the process going forward from this point, we are not able to do an official recall of a vacancy election within our within our governing documents. What we are able to potentially do is recount votes. However, we also that would be something that would be determined between me and John, how we would go about doing that, as the votes were collected anonymously and on paper, which may or may not still exist at this time. I will say that I can announce what the final result of the election was in pure number value without saying who voted for what, if that would dissuade people. which was that it was 7 votes in favor of candidate Sidney Dumont, 12 votes in favor of candidate Jordan Mueller, and that was the third and final one where there were no abstentions and no confidences. For the second vote, it was 9 for Sidney Dumont, it was 9 for Jordan Mueller, and there was 1 no confidence, which would potentially be a contested vote. All of the people on Zoom were counted as abstentions, as we did not get any votes from the people on Zoom. However, there was some potential issue there where it was not made clear how the people on Zoom could vote. Just to shed some light on this, before I ask if there is a second to consider this motion. There is a second to consider this motion. We will now go into a period of discussion about this motion. President Zellmer.
Before I start, could you please reiterate the final vote total on the decision that was made?
The final vote total on the decision that was made was 12 votes in favor of Jordan Mueller, 7 votes in favor of Sidney Dumont, and then the people that were on Zoom at that point were counted as abstentions, meaning that there were counted to be 3 abstentions.
But there were no votes cast in the chat by
There were no
Zoom
votes cast in the chat that we were able to observe while we were tallying the votes.
All right. So in So in our, I was looking through the Constitution, bylaws, and our operating procedures. Sorry, there was just a Zoom chat. So there was some Zoom technical issues. Senator Dustin, if you would like to shed some light on that after I'm done, feel free if you would like to discuss the Zoom issues. We have since made sure that one of us up here is on Zoom. That way we don't have to, have telephone between IT, us. If there's any tech issues, I know there were some audio issues last week. For a recall, what a recall means is that we are removing a person on Senate. Any of us at this table could be recalled. Technically, if it was through an election, you need to be sitting for at least 2 months, I believe it says in here, for a recall. That is if someone is not doing their job. So let's say you all were like, Emma, you are not doing your job, you're violating the Constitution. Y'all can recall me or anyone else at this table. I looked through, there is nothing for, so what it says in our operating procedures, this is Article 3, Section 1, Subsection F. And this is for counting votes. A non-Senate witness shall assist the Speaker with counting the ballots and shall verify the outcome of the election. The official vote tally will be recorded in the minutes and will also be recorded today, I guess. But the Speaker and John, since you were the non-Senate witness, since we had an election, that means it was verified, and that there was a verified election. Also, the final vote total, there were no votes cast online. Final vote total, there was not 5 people online in the first place. I get it was a tie that led to the second round. However, the vote was verified. There were no votes cast online, and since there was tech issues, I received no email. I received an Instagram DM from Senator Dustin. I'm not on Instagram during meetings. Sorry, please don't Instagram DM me during meetings. There were no emails sent to John, myself, admin, or the Speaker, even though the Speaker isn't on their email either, about the tech issues, so we could not resolve those because no one who was on Zoom experiencing tech issues reached out beyond one Instagram DM. I get that the burden should have been on us to make sure it was working, but we had no opportunity to know it wasn't. Everyone's normally been in person. That was our first Zoom meeting, so I apologize, but also there should have been more done if they wanted to make sure they could vote, in my personal opinion. But that is what our bylaws, Constitution, and operating procedures state. I will not be in support of recalling an election that we were able to complete. Also recalling on a basis that is not stated in our Constitution, bylaws, or operating procedures. Thanks.
Senator Dustin.
So, a few comments. So, with the Zoom issue, can you clarify a little bit of why we had to classify everyone on Zoom as abstention. Can you provide a little bit?
Is that a question for me?
So yeah, because I heard you said everyone on Zoom was considered to be abstention. Can you clarify why?
Yes. When we do not receive a vote from a party, we count that as an abstention for the sake of tallying.
Hold on.
Sure,
Was
go
there
ahead.
a procedure in place to count the vote first of all on Zoom?
There was a procedure in place to count the vote via Zoom. It was not properly communicated, and I will take the full fall for that not properly being communicated.
So how do you classify that as an abstention if you did not put like a voting procedure in place for all?
I will yield to President Zelmer.
I think the clear way to have voted online, especially since there were 3 candidates and there's always extra options, would have been through the chat. There were no chats sent about a vote. You can't do like yes or no or hand raising to vote between 2 candidates. So I believe that the only option, having run meetings online for 3 years because of COVID, was everything gets sent through the chat. There were no votes sent via chat, so we couldn't. If there were no votes sent, there's no votes to be counted.
I will state that it was absolutely my folly for not making it more clear how to properly vote in this specific election, and I will make sure to, for all votes that are done in the future, including the vote on this amendment, by the way, if we still have one senator on Zoom, who I believe that we do, that votes via Zoom will be counted and can be submitted via sending a chat to President Zelmer or our IT solutions. But I will absolutely take the fall that it was my fault for not properly stating that methodology during the course of the election. Given the situation that we have been put in right now, the fact that there were not enough potential people on Zoom to where the vote could have swayed it, along with the fact that there was not... I'm sorry, I need to stop talking because I have to be impartial, but you're like directly asking me questions, so I'm like in a very tough situation, but I have to be impartial, so I'm just going to stop talking so I can't explain my situation. I'm sorry. But Senator Roberts.
So
I'm going to go to Senator Roberts first.
So a few things I want to speak to first. First thing I want to speak to is I did not know the margin until today. And the whole reason why is I assumed that the margin was changed by a single vote, which means that Zoom people could have literally made a difference, for one. But the second thing that I wanted to bring up was it was immediately following the end of the meeting. And I asked Storm really quick, this is not to throw you under the bus or anything like that, but I asked, did you catch people on Zoom? And he said, oh, shoot, pretty much right after, recognizing that we didn't even check Zoom, that we hadn't even checked Zoom in the first place to make that distinction if a vote had even been cast in the first place. Now, IT Solutions was able to go back and find out that there weren't any cast, but the fact that there was multiple things that happened that led to an equity issue in the election. And this is not to throw anyone under the bus. This is not to, say, oh, this is disrespectful. This is just because I believe that everyone deserved the most equity and fairness in this election. So I still support this motion just to get the record straight. Not because we should be changing the candidate, not because I don't believe Jordan won't do an amazing job, because I believe Jordan will do an amazing job. It is so everyone gets the vote that they deserved in the original place. And thus, I still support this motion just to allow that fair, equitable chance to get the record straight. Thank you.
Senator Destin.
Yeah, I know this is really a tough situation to recall election, like Senator Rabbit said. So the technical issue, I understand that you accept the responsibility, but at the same time, I just wanted to clarify for my personal records that there was communication in the chat, even beyond the Instagram message I sent to the president. So there was communication about the technical issue that we were not even hearing, for instance. I communicated in the chat that we are not hearing or this is happening, and Zoom kept kicking us out of the meeting and we have to re-log into the meeting. So all of that was in the chat. So I just wanted to provide that. If that means going back to the election for equity reasons, then that is something that we can look into. But there was over three or four people on Zoom that could have voted and make a difference in the election. So I came out of the meeting before I even realized that it was candidates already here. Yep.
Senator Nurala.
I just asked this question to get the record straight. Could you clarify a little bit more on the technical issue? Was the chat option not available to you at all? Or that the chat options were available but you weren't able to send message?
The chat option was available. I was able to send message. There was no one responding. There was no one attending to the questions or concerns.
Before we go back to you, Senator Nurala, I'm going to pass it to President Zelmer.
So I'm currently in the chat right now to clarify when, Senator Dustin, did you end up leaving the meeting and unable to come back, or did not come back?
Time?
Yep. Or what was going on in the meeting?
Okay. So first of all, it was Student United presented, right? Mm-hmm. Right after Student United presentation, I heard there was opportunity to ask questions. I personally had a question. And I raised my hand because the Zoom has feature you can raise your hand, and no one recognized me. And then I texted in the group that I have a question. There was no recognition given to me, and I muted myself, to speak out and see if you could hear me. I was like, "Oh, I have a question. I have a question." It seems like there was audio problem, and you guys were not hearing. Only us could hear over Zoom. So yeah, that was exactly after Student United presentation. I don't know what time that was. It was after that.
Cool. So I'm also in the Zoom chat right now. Sahina's messaging me, who was also online at the time. She confirms that there were no votes cast during it. She was the only senator that was on Zoom when votes were being cast, and she did not cast a vote at that time. If she would have, she just put Jordan. I didn't ask who, but she just sent Jordan in the chat, and I was like, what? It's a...
Out of order, we can't disclose who voted for what candidate.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yep,
I have to do that.
To rephrase, that was great. I loved it. Anyways, so C messaged me last week. I was the only one on Zoom right before elections. It was cut off, but but later realized that it had also left the meeting. She was on until announcement. At first, there were a total of 4 to 5 senators. I said, when did everyone else leave? Was it before any votes were cast? And she said yes. So it would not have changed the outcome of even the first election that was a tie, because they were not there to vote. And again, there were no emails sent to us about not being able to discuss or talk, and we are resolving that now. However, there were no votes cast. It would not have changed the outcome of the election. I understand the concern, but also I will read our recall, which is in our bylaws, because we do have to go by the Constitution, bylaws, and operating procedures. In the Constitution, Section 2, Article 5, Section 2, well, Article 5 talks about recalls in general, but Section 2, petition of recall removal from office. You all can go in and read this. This is accessible to anyone because it's online. So if you have a computer, look us up. But no elected official shall be recalled within the first 3 months of a tenure. A presidential appointee can be recalled at any time. There's a lot more. I don't want to read everything. But the only thing that talks about validity of an election is from the speaker and the person who is helping read the votes. After you brought this to our attention, we immediately took action, reached out to Robert from IT, who confirmed there were no votes cast online and that they could not confirm who was on the Zoom call during the votes, but that there were no votes cast online. Period. done. So I yield, and I hope we can move on with our meeting soon.
Senator Nirala, did you have something?
No, the president answered the question that I was going to ask.
Very well. Senator Wing.
Motion to call the question.
There was a second.
Do we have a second to call the question?
Did we ever move to discussion?
This is discussion. Do we have a second on the motion to call the question? Okay. Do we have any dissent on a motion to call the question? Seeing no dissent, we may now vote on this matter. I think because this is a more contentious vote, it may make sense to do this as an anonymous ballot. I see a motion on the table. First, I'm going to ask, is yours a motion, Senator Mueller?
No, I have a question regarding the vote.
Okay, we will do that in a second. First, I'm going to entertain this motion because it may solve the question.
As the clarification that it was only one left, I'd assumed that they had been reconnected or were at least being able to access. I apologize for bringing this up. I only brought it up because I believe that there was a serious equity concern. I'm withdrawing the motion.
Will the second also withdraw, or do you wish to continue the motion? Withdrawn?
Yes.
All right. Well, then in that case, despite that we had just moved to vote on the matter, we will no longer be voting on this matter. I will personally once again say I am terribly sorry for the issue with the Zoom. We had mistakenly not appointed an individual to be in charge of monitoring the Zoom and making sure that there was somebody who was monitoring that and making sure that people's concerns over Zoom were heard. That is entirely the fault of us, and we are working very hard to rectify that. I'm very truly sorry for that situation because it was very unfortunate, and I will not undervalue that situation. I will say that we will work to rectify this in the future.
I'm now always on Zoom,
Yeah.
by the way, so it's fixed now.
With that, we are going to move forward. Is there any other motions for the approval of consent agenda? Seeing no motions, is there any dissent to the approval of the consent agenda? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing none, the consent agenda passes. All right, then in that case, we are going to move along to officer reports, and then we will do vacancies, and then senator reports. So, President Zellmer.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
You're all
gonna have
good.
this next. Okay, so a couple things from me first. We'll be sending out an all-student email about the last day to register to vote. Since we're sending out an all-student email, I know there's lots of things that we're very interested in. I know a lot of people want to do surveys. Rather than having 50 different surveys, how about we all send your questions to me and we can create a survey for students to fill out. So if there's anything that you were hoping to study I'll let you know if we have some research on it that the university has done, but if there's anything in general you want to ask students about, please send that my way. We're going to put together a survey, send that out to students. We're also hoping to get a little incentive, like maybe if you enter in the survey, it's a raffle for a $50 gift card, something like that to help improve survey turnout. So please send me any survey questions that you all want added. It can be about anything. We can workshop it. Other than that, I think Edmund's going to update you on some of the meetings we had. I have an exciting Students United update. Well, a couple. First, tomorrow is the deadline at 11:30 p.m. tomorrow to register for the advocacy conference. Although Mankato only had one more ticket, they added 10 more free student tickets that include the hotel because some other schools haven't filled out any of their tickets. We actually had the highest registration as of Sunday, so go us. But again, so you can register for that. Let me know if you need help. Again, tomorrow at 11:30 is the deadline because the hotel needs it by then. There are enough tickets for more people to go. And then once we get the head count, we'll start getting busing numbers put together. The code to register is all caps ADCON 23. It might be AdCon 2023, so if AdCon 23 doesn't work, try 2023. Beyond that, 2 resolutions were passed at Students United last week. One was to for the student activities fee cap, to institute a 2 to 5 year review process. Advocate for the system office to do that for the fee cap. And also, with unanimous consent of the 6 voting board members of the 7, with unanimous consent, we are going to be supporting, as Students United, an increase for the 4-year institutions on a student activity fee cap. So we passed that. You all should be clapping now. Okay, cool. So I'm going to work with the state chair to make sure they bring that up to the Board of Trustees and that they start pushing on that now, and it doesn't just get kicked under the rug. But we do have system support from the university, so that's awesome. Other than that, we will be tabling Saturday at football and hockey. This was our GOTV coordinator, Grace's idea, so thank you, Senator Larson. The football game, I need to check, but I'll be sending out an email to everyone. Football, unlimited amount of people can table. Since this is Senate, you do get office hours for your time you spend there. We'll be registering people to vote. And making sure that everyone is registered to vote, knows when Election Day is, stuff like that. For hockey, I'm working with athletics since it's a hockey game, to send to people. There's a limited amount of student tickets, and we didn't want to have an empty student section because we're tabling, because we're trying to get them to register. So there are 3 senator spots that can come table at hockey. You'll table, and then also if you miss the free student section tickets, you get to sit in the student section after that. So please let me know if you will come on Saturday. I believe we have to show up around 5. And we can carpool, have a great time. And we'll be registering people to vote. Grace has also put together a little fact sheet. So let me know if you're interested. Since there's a limited amount, I want you to come to me personally. I wasn't going to send around a sign-up sheet for that. Other than that, we did have our meet and confer with the President's Cabinet last week on Thursday. A few key things I wanted to bring to y'all's attention. First, one concern from international students has always been that businesses don't sponsor them after they graduate, because businesses say it's too hard, stuff like that. The university is bringing an international law lawyer to career fairs. I don't know if it's just one or multiple, to talk with employers about how they can sponsor international students. So we're trying to work with the community to make sure that international students will have more opportunities after graduation. So I didn't even bring that up to them as an idea, so I want to give a shout out to administration for doing that. Other than that, we are right now the system right now is putting together a biennium budget request. That means it'd be 2-year funding. Typically, we don't get much from the state. Last year we got nothing. Granted, that was in a mid-year, so this is a big deal. This will be the first reading to the Board of Trustees next week. Then they'll probably confirm what the budget will be the week after. Right now, online on the MnState website, you can give feedback on the budget proposal. In the budget proposal right now, and I told our administration to continue advocating for this, is a tuition freeze request. So the state legislature can sponsor a tuition freeze, which means they're covering if it would have been a 3% increase. The last time they did this was 2018, I believe. So that is in there, as well as some basic needs and mental health funding. Also just general funds, scholarship stuff. However, I thought those would be of most interest to us. Yes, but make sure you fill out feedback on MnState's website. I'm also, if it's of interest, just nod your head if you think yes. I'm thinking of asking the system office person or maybe someone on our institution to come give us a presentation on what the request might look like. That way, if we have any edits or things that we want to advocate for, we can write a letter to the Board of Trustees. Maybe. I'm just going to do it. Okay, cool. And then for transfer, the provost is working on this. They're going to be working with the top 5 transfer, 2-year colleges that transfer into us. I don't know them all, so please don't ask, but Southwest, Normandale, and 3 others, because that's 5, are going to be getting faculty together, since faculty are the ones who decide substitutions, to make sure our curriculum is lining up. That way they know they can transfer in easier. I told them they should also get advisors together, since advisors are the ones who tell people what to take. They will also be having student focus groups. I don't know when those are yet. And then We also learned about the university is rebranding. They did a presentation there. I have scheduled them to come and do a presentation for us. They're still receiving feedback on the rebranding. They will be coming on November 2nd, so the first Wednesday in November. That was the earliest they could come. So that's when the rebranding will be coming. Is this about rebranding? You can just ask right now.
What's that rebranding look like right now?
So instead of going by Minnesota State University Mankato, we will be doing business, well, legally we'll still be like Minnesota State University Mankato. We'll be marketing as Minnesota State University. So dropping that. And then they're like kind of changing the logo. The flame's going to come out of the M. They'll show us 3 different options, so you can let them know what you think on November 2nd. And then that was mostly what came up in Meet and Confer. Other than that, I had coffee, well not coffee, but we're going to change it to coffee with the president. On Tuesday, it was 8 a.m., that's why I say coffee. So a couple things the president spoke to me about, and I was able to speak with him about. He is talking to the Board of Trustees about transfer. This is a priority for him. The Board of Trustees actually called him up again next week because they want some clarification on things he said about how transfer is not working. He has requested that to support that, not by next week, but by the following month, he's going to let us know what the trustees think is working. That might not actually be working. We are going to put together a document to write down what we don't think is working with transfer. That way he can say, look, students agree with this and students' experiences show this. So I will be putting a document in the Teams folder and we'll make sure everyone's on Teams as well as emailing it out. He's talking to the Environmental Committee and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commitment to review the Students United commitments and make university commitments. This was something we all passed before the end of the school year last year, so there is motion on that, so that's nice. And then he's also working on finding some creative solutions to make sure international students can get 20 hours. I know often they're getting 15, but since they're capped at 20, they're still in the process of like trying to figure out legally and like with international law how it can work, but they're working on making sure that international students can like find more hours on campus, up to 20, make sure they're reaching that, as well as how we can maybe partner with some businesses in the community, whether that's through like credits here where they can still maybe get paid. Very early on, but he is working on finding more opportunities for international students. And he will be coming to Senate on October 26th. The speaker will send out a reminder of when he's coming. We're still deciding whether we want that to be Halloween and dress up when he's here, or we should do suits when he's here. It's in conversation, but I mean, pick your poison. I might want to do Halloween costumes though, so we'll see. I don't know. He's coming to Student Senate. He should expect something fun. But yeah, that I yield.
All right. Do we have any questions for President Zelmer? Yes, I'm going to go to Senator Nicklin first.
Yeah, so you briefly mentioned Teams. We're still yet to be added to that Microsoft Teams.
You are? Okay, I'm not in charge of that, but I will make sure you all get added to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, our apologies.
Senator Destin.
Do we still have openness for advocates and conference?
Yes, so there are, we had one Mankato specific ticket. There's 10 general tickets. So there are still sponsored tickets out there. They close tomorrow at 11:30 p.m., so Thursday. The code is all caps, ADCON, ADCON. I believe it's 23.
The Mankato one is sold out.
No, but there's general, they added more on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Yep, yeah, so they added extra tickets Monday since like Bemidji and Moorhead couldn't fill all their seats, so we'll take them.
Any other questions for President Zelmer? Senator Domenici.
I'm not sure if I asked that before, but you guys have transportation to the conference?
Yep, we'll be putting that together. We'll get mileage from Students United to get up there, so we'll probably rent a bus from the university, or else we'll just like carpool, see who's all able to drive, get everyone up there, make sure you get mileage reimbursed.
If so, what time are you guys leaving?
Great question. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Yep. We'll be leaving Friday, I believe, hold on, sorry, this won't take too long. We will be leaving Saturday, the 5th. We will be leaving Mankato at about 9 a.m. And then since we'll have a hotel, we'll get back on Sunday. If you need to leave Saturday night, that is fine as well. Most of the stuff will be all day Saturday. That's why it's starting Saturday morning.
Senator Nirala.
While we're on this conversation, this is a question to Speaker. Would the senators attending the conference be able to log in it as office hours?
Absolutely. Honestly, if you attend a conference, like that's like
you're capped at 6.
You're capped. Like that's your office hours. Like you're good. Like that's all your office hours right there.
The sessions you attend. Not when you're sleeping in the hotel. So.
Okay, yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair statement.
Gotcha.
Yes. Do we have any other questions for President Zelmer? All right. Seeing none, we're going to move right along to Vice President Ely.
Okay, those were all good questions. So this week we had multiple meetings with, it's working, multiple meetings. The first one was I had a meeting with Dean Corley. We talked about the writing in the tutoring center and what it does for students, especially for the first generation students who need to go there more than a couple times of the week. We met with Brian Schneider. I didn't meet with him. And we talk about the city council's work and housing around Mankato area and how they treat it for students. I met with a professor and a VSSW director from the Department of Social Work, Dr. Paul Mackey, who updated me about the department's work and what they are doing for the students with higher needs as well. Me and Emma met with a director from the PSEO who updated us what the program is working on, what type of student they are serving, some challenge with the first generation students, and we also talk about how, as a university, how can we make the students, PSEO students, to feel welcome on our campus. And then last night I attended the President Commission on Diversity, and some of the things that were talked about in the meetings were Center of Excellent Teaching and Learning, which is a faculty fellowship that helps them to grow in ways, advance social justice and racial equity, and that's all I have for you today.
Thank you very much. Do we have Senator Roberts for a question?
Yeah, on the PSESO, you said there was questions of how to make them feel welcome. What was that discussion like? Like, what suggestions did they have to make them feel more welcome?
So there was a couple things we talked about. Even though PSEO students don't pay student fees, so hypothetically they could not qualify for some of the things students get. If they get a special request from high school students being like, hey, I want a student ticket to the play, they make sure that they can kind of set that up. Or if they're like, hey, I want a hockey ticket, even though they don't pay student fees, they try to make sure that they can still get some student benefits that they have. Beyond that, there's been surveys in the past, so one thing is that the PSEO office does not have their own space. The College of Education tries to open up some space for them, so they do have offices. However, there's no PSEO center. So a survey that went out to PSEO students, I don't know when this was, he mentioned a survey and that overwhelmingly PSEO students would like a place to congregate and be able to meet. They try to check out rooms in Armstrong, saying hey, you can come by, pick up a snack or something. But as we all know, space is limited on campus. If the space were to open up, I think we would even have some ideas for it. That may not be a PSEO space. They are also able to do RSOs. One thing I also brought up, sometimes retention rate isn't the greatest with PSEO students then coming here. So what we're going to try to do is, or we're going to work with them on having nights where even for undecided and PSEO students, if they know they're interested in biology, they should be able to meet with the biology chair, biology faculty, kind of have socials, as well as be able to have an advisor in that program beyond just a PSEO advisor. That way they feel like they're in the program, not just taking general education classes here. Also making sure enough gen ed classes are offered for the first year students who want to take them, as well as PSEO, because PSEO don't get to register for classes until 3 weeks before classes. So those are all taken by first year students. So they're trying to make sure that we know how many classes we need to offer to make sure that we have enough classes for all our students, which is an issue we see not only for PSEO, but students in general. So it'd be things like that, but PSEO students are able to join clubs. They also had a PSEO group, but PSEO students want to go to their high school football games, not necessarily join a student org, so I don't blame them, to be honest, but yeah.
All right. Do we have any other questions for VP Ibrahim? Oh, we've got another one from Senator Roberts.
And then, in terms of you talked about the writing center, you said you had some statistics that you ended up going over. If the number of repeat students going there and student success.
Can you rephrase this question, please?
Yes, sorry. You were talking about the writing and tutoring center and how a lot of students were going there and how that was affecting first-generation students. I assume that you had a statistic from that. What were those statistics?
So we're still working on that. I know that there's you have to go there 3 times. If you want to go there multiple times, it's kind of limited to 3 times a week and then 1 hour for that time. So we're still kind of working on if it's a technology problem, because that's only when you do it online. So it's not for sure, but we're still working on it. I'll be updating you guys on that when I have a meeting with Dean Corley again.
Thank you very much. I see a question from Senator Nick Wynn.
Yeah, so personally, I really appreciate all the advocacy work you do on campus. I do want to address something though. So with each meeting, you do bring up that you meet with a lot of different people on campus, doing a lot of different outreach. But what is your project? Do you have a streamlined project, or is your main project just advocacy?
We're working on a lot of different projects as a team, but right now we're focusing on what can we do to make students who need more help to accessible to writing center, tutoring center. So we're just doing a couple meetings with everyone, and I also yield to Emma if you.
Yeah, so, and also our job is to support all of your work. So when we meet with Dean Corley, you're working on tutoring as well. So we're hey, make sure that tutoring works for this. Tutoring hours are limited. If we have a meeting with admissions, we'll bring up some transfer things. Our job is also in these meetings, since we should have more time since you all are in other things and you only need 6 hours every 2 weeks, making sure that when we have extra meetings that we're including what you all are working on in that, and also being hey, do you know who this would go to? Also, sometimes people reach out to us to meet with them, PSEO, they reached out to us. So we have extra things like that, but yeah, so something we're really working on is making sure that all the departments on campus are accessible to students, especially making sure that students all feel welcome at those as well.
Perfect. You got the good work.
Go right ahead.
And I'm just going to add to that, we are doing a lot of advocacy. It was on our platform that we're going to be helping a lot of students, such as first generation students. So if any of you want to work with on those, you're welcome to have a meeting with me. I would need some help. So yeah.
Very nice. Do we have any other questions for Vice President Ibrahim? Any other questions? All right. Well, seeing none, we will jump into my report. My report, I have been going through and compiling, going back through the minutes and the attendance sheets of all of our previous meetings to make sure that I have an up-to-date tracker of what the attendances are. The problem with that is that I was also asked to make sure that we are collecting attendances of people who are staying until the end of the meeting, and it makes my job very, very hard that we keep waiving the roll call at the end, which I do understand, especially for very long meetings, but I will state that I have been asked to state that we have the roll call at the end of the meetings to ensure that we have an accurate track of who is staying for the entire duration of the meeting versus who's coming, checking in, and then popping out at some point, just so that we are able to better hold people accountable for that. So that's something that I've been working on, is going back and cataloging and doing some data entry on that. Very, very boring stuff. But I have also, of course, been working on ensuring the constitutionality and sort of backing up, as well as looking into the specifics of whether votes were cast or not in last week's election. Those something that we've already talked about and discussed ad nauseum, so I won't further bring us into that. I will once again say, though, that I'm sorry for not making it more easily accessible for people on Zoom to reach us, and we have, of course, taken the steps to make sure that that is accessible in the future. And then beyond that, office hours were due last week. Thank you all very much for office hours. If you haven't sent them in, no worries. You can send them in late. Just email them to me or shoot them on presents, whichever it is. Senators who are newly elected, of course, don't have to worry about office hours for last week, but will be included in our office hours that will be due next week on Friday. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to our Dean of the Day, who I believe today is Dean Belsos, yeah? All right. So you go right ahead.
Hey, it's midterm. How y'all doing?
It's week 8.
I know.
Week 8, yeah.
Are you surprised? John's like acting like I wouldn't know that. I mean, would I come to you and not know that it's midterm? I really am just checking in on y'all, making sure that you're okay, because I think, like, I'm exhausted, everybody I know is exhausted, the semester seems to be flying right by. I hope that you're all taking care of yourselves, and in whatever form that might take. I do want to thank President Zelmer for that report, because a lot of the stuff, it was an excellent, detailed report of a lot of the things that are happening in academic affairs. I'm particularly impressed by your knowledge about PSEO. That's one of the things that I keep an eye on, and so thank you. Those PSEO students they would like a space to meet, because how many of you are in your first year? Anybody? One, right? It's a transition, right? Like from high school to college, and they kind of want a space where they can meet other students in their situation, and they're kind of hard to spot in the campus. But like you said, space is at a premium. I mean, it's like one of the hot topics on campus. But anything that you can do to advocate for PSEO students who do attend classes with you, they're sitting right next to you, you probably don't know about it, I would really appreciate it if you could advocate for them whenever you get a chance. Some of the other things, you mentioned transfer. That is one of the things that I'll be working on this year. You mentioned the faculty summit that we're trying to schedule in February. So I attended a conference last week it's a conference of students in transition, so it's about first year experience and transfer. University of Central Florida is really one of the leaders in the area of transfer. They do seem to know what they're doing there. 60,000 students at that institution, 47% of them are transfer students. That means that they're doing something right. But they've also been meeting every year, at least once a year, for 16 years to do curriculum alignment with their campus partners. We don't have that kind of history yet, but that's the type of thing that we're going to be starting this year with this summit in February, to try to get the faculty together, build those relationships, build some trust, and start figuring out how can we do a better job of aligning with our 2-year partners and our other 4-year institutions. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and I could go on forever, but I don't really want to, because it's midterm and we're all tired. But as always, if you have questions, please reach out to me. Probably the best way to reach me is to email curriculum, curriculum, at mnsu.edu. If you email me directly, there's a very good chance I won't see it because I get a lot of email. But if you send it there, my assistant will spot it and make sure that I respond to it. But thank you all. Good luck. Keep chugging on. And the schedules for spring are available, so be taking a look at that and start thinking about what you want to register for in the spring.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Dean Belsos from President Zelmer?
So you convene the policy committee, right? The ones. So yes. What policies are getting up for review? Did any of the policies that we put forward get pulled for review this year?
We haven't decided yet. That's going to happen at our next meeting. Some of them may be reviewed. Some of them were revised last year, and we do not bring policies up 2 years in a row. At least 2 of them are the subject of work that's ongoing this year, and so we're going to defer that to next year because there's no point in making a revision and then figuring out it was incomplete.
Do you mean the transfer ones?
One of them is the transfer credits. One of them is the graduate assistant policy. Because we're doing some research this year, we want to do it one time and get it right rather than miss something this time and then have to wait 2 years at least before we can bring it up again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions for Dean Belsos? Any other questions? Then in that case, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then before we move on to my speaker report, does anyone have any questions for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, so on the note of the attendance, I know that some of us international students, we have to report one student here at International Center. Do you report that on our behalf, or do we have to still go on and say, hey, student government?
Kearney International Center has asked me a couple of times about people, and in those instances, I have made sure that people are getting their points. But I am not entirely aware of the exact process on their end that they must go through. If you would like to refer them to me, you can. I would love to get in touch with whoever is in charge with that to make sure that we can iron out what the exact process is with that in order to ensure that you guys are getting those. All right. Senator Demenji.
Yeah, I can kind of answer this question. Last semester, there was a form on Involvio on residents that you need to submit by yourself. Even if you're a part of an organization, if you're a board member, you still need to do it on your own. Last year was very, we've been having it was very laggy, but I don't know how it's going to be this year. But there's going to be a form that you need to submit on your own. There will be an email, I'm pretty sure there will be an email on behalf of JC Fry, the director of PAC, later this semester, so just keep an eye on that.
Amazing. Thank you very much for the clarification. Any other questions for me? All right, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move along. Next up is vacancies, because we moved that up in the agenda. So I'm going to go down the list of our vacancies today. If we have a candidate present for the vacancies, please stand for the spot that you are hoping to apply for. Before I go through and ask them, I'll just state that we have the vacancies currently for an at-large residential community senator, 3 College of Allied Health and Nursing senators, and a College of Education senator. So I will ask, is anybody here present for the residential life community senator position? All right, very awesome. Then will you, my friend, please take the podium and then state your name and pronouns, and then we're going to offer you the opportunity for a 2-minute opening statement, followed by questions, and then a 2-minute closing.
Okay.
When ready.
Hi, my name is Tasman Goff. I'm a freshman. My major is finance. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I recently joined RHA at the beginning of the year because I knew I wanted to do something with student government, and I really enjoyed that. I actually am the vice president of my floor. I've been going to RHA meetings. It's been really enjoyable. This week we actually talked about what we might want changed in the university or on the residence hall. And so after that meeting, I decided to go around door to door on my floor, asking around for ideas and what people might want changed and added. I'm going to sum up a survey at the end of the week to present back on the Monday's meeting. So I've been really enjoying that. My experience with leadership, I was a captain of my mock trial team in high school, lead builder in robotics and outreach. Leadership was kind of a quality I myself never really saw, but I've been told throughout that I've been really good at it in high school and wanted to continue that in college. So that is why I decided to apply for this position.
Amazing. Thank you very much. We'll now open it up for if there are any questions for our candidate here today. Senator Roberts.
I know that you mentioned it in your application, but what exactly is this biggest issue? I know that you say, I mean, we have different perspectives on things, but what exactly is this biggest issue facing the constituency?
I wouldn't necessarily say I've approached an issue yet. I just wanted freshmen here, since I didn't really know anyone in student government, to have a voice here, and I could be their voice. I do communicate with a lot of people, and always am talking to them about what they might want changed. But any major changes overall, I haven't heard. There have just been small changes to, for instance, showers in residence hall, which would be more of an RHA thing. So there wasn't really anything big yet as of now.
Thank you very much. Senator Putty?
Speaking of work, you can strike me if this question does not qualify. But you mentioned in your description that you bought in thousands of dollars through various companies. Would you mind explaining how you did that?
That was just simple outreach, reaching out through companies. Some, when I just reached out, would just automatically give some money to our robotics team. Other times we would go and help them with events, and then they would give us a certain amount of money, or we'd present to their company on why they should give us money, allow us to be able to get certain parts. Or, for instance, we would have just partnerships with like manufacturing companies where they would give us money, or just allow us to be able to use their machines to manufacture like carbon fiber things onto our robot so that it could better function in competition.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Parikh, you had me worried at the beginning there where you're like, you can strike this if you need to. I was like, oh boy.
I was not sure if this question qualifies as discussion. I don't know.
No, you're all good. Senator Mueller.
Yeah, so I know this is kind of like your first step into student government, but if you have any, what kind of plans for projects do you have in mind? Like, what's kind of on your mind for what you first start doing when you get to the body of student government?
I didn't really have a plan. I first wanted to see how everything works and see what is on campus before I come up with an idea on what I want changed and what my class would want changed.
Thank you very much. Senator Roberts.
Have you experienced any problems on this campus, like personally, that you wish were different, that you would like to advocate for because you believe that others may experience the same thing?
Personally, no, but I know several friends that have experienced some bigger issues that should definitely be addressed. I don't know if now is the right time to talk about those, so I'll wait to confront those later on.
I would encourage preserving the privacy of those individuals if at all possible, if that comes up in another question. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, for the sake of, because this is on camera, not to say that anyone involved here did anything wrong. But Senator Roberts.
As the follow-up to that, keeping their privacy in mind, what are those big issues?
It doesn't have anything to do with this group here. This is just an overall campus concern with assault and sexual assault. I think is a really big issue that we aren't doing enough for.
Senator Blanchard?
I was just going to move to end discussion.
This is questioning.
Or move to end discussion.
I'll entertain a second for that. Second, any dissent? No dissent? All right, then in that case, you will be allowed a 2-minute closing statement. If you don't need all that time, that's totally all right. I will be holding up a 1 and then a 3-0 when you're, for the amount of time remaining. I forgot to say that for your opening, and I'm sorry for that.
I understood what you were doing.
Yeah. Before we do that, though, is there a motion on the table?
Point of information, you've been holding the 3-0 up backwards for the last 2 weeks. That's what threw me off in my vacancy election. I just wanted to make note of that quick.
Wait, okay, this way?
0-3.
Or should I do that way? It should be this way. Thank you.
Another way to do it. Sorry.
We'll get the other. We'll do it. Here we go. We're closing statement.
Go ahead.
You can start whenever you're ready.
I would like to say that your questions are very engaging, and I like them a lot. It helped me think a lot about what you guys were questioning about me. I think, although I'm inexperienced, I could be a great member to the Senate, as I can bring a lot from my perspective and from my age.
All right, thank you very much. Then I will say that you have the choice to choose whether you would like to stay in the room or leave while senators deliberate and then cast votes on behalf of their constituents to determine whether we shall hold an election. So you may choose whether you wish to stay or leave for that discussion.
I'll stay.
Okay, very well. Then in that case, we're going to move straight into discussion here. Do we have any discussion points in reference to our candidate today? President Elmer.
I think this candidate's a great candidate. I started in RHA. I applied for Senate as a Res Life Senator 2 weeks into my first year. I had no clue what the issues were on campus, but I think they were, when I went to RHA, they were engaged in discussion and bringing up ideas. So I will be supporting this candidate. And I will remind people to snap if you agree rather than having another speaking point. I yield.
All right, well, that made my speakers list a lot easier. Then we're going to jump to Senator Wing.
I'd just like to note, in looking at his background, I'd like to acknowledge what he did with his robotics team as an individual who also was a part of those programs growing up. I think it's really impressive, and I think that makes him very qualified for this position, so I will be supporting him for those reasons.
Thank you very much. Senator Mueller.
Yes, I'm in favor of the candidate. President can yell at me later. But I do want to raise a very good statement that the candidate did talk about sexual assault on campus. I think this is a very important issue that needs to be talked about in this body. And I just want to say it's a very good job to him for bringing those up. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other points of discussion?
Call the question.
Okay. Do we have a second for a call to question? Any dissent? No dissent. All right. Here's what we're going to do. Please write on a slip of paper, yes if you are in favor of the candidate, no if you are opposed to the candidate, abstain if you abstain. If you are on Zoom, would it be Emma?
They
would
can
it
message me privately.
Okay, if you message you. Okay, cool. If you are on Zoom, please message President Emma Zelmer, and I will collect the vote from them. So, I'm going to go around and start collecting votes along with John.
But yeah, I refuse to wear
You just kept going. And I was like, my question is not going to. First you oh, you're voting no confidence for first reason.
Yeah, I did.
You have. From who?
It's not. I think that they bring a good point.
You're on. You're right.
That's a really important observation. That's why I was hunting for discussion for anything. Oh, I mean, it was more they brought it up. Something to work Oh, I absolutely have
Submit your hours.
I just need to put a calendar reminder on that.
I thought it was, I guess 2 weeks after. All right. right.
Are you running?
Everybody, we're gonna pull it all back. We have had a new candidate elected today. So, will our new wonderful candidate please go up and take the podium? I am going to swear you in with the oath of office, and then you may join the Senate for the rest of this meeting, and then all meetings afterwards. All right. When ready, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Tasman Goff,
Will represent and serve the students of Minnesota State University, Mankato.
The students of University Minnesota State Mankato.
In student life and academic needs.
In student life and academic needs.
And will uphold the mission. Constitution and bylaws. Of the student government. I so affirm. Thank you very much. You may now take a seat at the table at any of the open seats, which I believe we're only down to 2 at this point.
Which is bad because we have more vacancies than we have seats.
There are a couple of seats. But yes, we'll work on getting you a placard in the near future, but welcome to Senate. Then in that case, we're going to go ahead and move along. I'm going to ask for the rest of the vacancies just in case we have people here. Do we have anyone for College of Allied Health and Nursing? No one for College of Allied Health and Nursing. Do we have anyone for College of Education? No one for College of Education. Beautiful. Makes our lives quicker. So, Senator reports. We are going to go ahead and jump in with Senator reports. First up for Senator reports is Senator Wenzel.
Can everyone hear me, or do I need to adjust anything?
You're good.
You're good.
Oh, thanks. In the interest of time, I'll keep this brief. Over the last month, since I was elected back in September, I've had innumerable meetings with faculty, staff, other students to work on my project of transforming the university into what the queer autistic...
Senator Wenzel, I'm sorry, could you step closer to the mic, please?
Is this better?
Can you verify that the mic is on?
Stay close.
Does this work?
Yes.
All right. Anyway, so I've been working on my project for the last month. Some things to highlight specifically was this past Thursday, I believe, I had a letter to the editor published in the MSU Reporter. I got a lot of positive feedback from that from faculty, fellow senators. I even got some attention online from people who live outside the U.S. who said they were going to cite that in some of their feminist classes. So that was pretty good. I have another article that's pending publication for the Mankato Free Press. I just submitted that before the Academic Affairs Committee meeting today. So hopefully I should get 2 articles published within the week. And then today we got the posters printed and started to hand them up around campus for Nick Walker's visit in this room on this next Tuesday, the 18th, from 3 to 4:30 p.m. So that's some of the greatest hits of the last month. So I yield to any questions.
All right. Do we have any questions for Senator Wenzel? President Zelmer.
Not a question, but a note for everyone that if you attend the event on Tuesday at 3 in this room, that is office hours.
True fact. All right. Do we have any questions for Senator Wenzel? Senator Destin.
So this is not a question, more like a compliment to you, because I know you just joined a month ago, and you've been doing a lot of great jobs going beyond your duties as a senator, having international recognition and all that. I just want to say thank you for all you do. Good job.
Thank you.
Very nice. Do we have any questions for Senator Wenzel? All right, seeing no questions, thank you very much. Then in that case, we're going to move along to Senator Zigweed.
All right, everybody, before I get up there, I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I know that there's a lot of Senator reports to get through today. So just to start off, my biggest project has been making sure that students are aware of the different food options that are on campus and how they can more or less help prevent hunger. And so to do that, first I started beginning to compile a different list of options for resources and everything like that. So things such as the Maverick Food Pantry, the campus cupboard, the campus kitchen, just to get a list of different things. And then I'll also have the mental health resources, kind of like what Athletic has. And that's going to be on a magnet sometime soon, pending funding and everything like that. And then I'm also working with the campus kitchen to kind of help shift their food production away from having the stuff go off campus to make sure that it's more helping students, because right now they produce 80 meals every single week, but only 10 of them go to students on campus. So making sure that those meals are accessible to students is something that I think is really important. And I have been meeting with Tyler, who is the head of the Student Affairs Committee, on that, and we're kind of working together. And then I also have a meeting with the person who kind of runs the Maverick Food Pantry on Friday, so just to get her thoughts on everything. And then I also will be meeting with Karen, who is the head of the campus kitchen. And I think Tyler talked to Emma a little bit about this, but putting some of the pre-made meals in the student government fridge is going to be an option pretty soon here, so that'll be nice and a lot easier for students, just because the campus kitchen is kind of a far walk for students, so the student government fridge is something that's a lot more accessible to them. And I yield for questions.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Any questions at all? No? Seeing none? Thank you very much, and wonderful project. Next up, Senator Demenji.
I will try to keep it short
and Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Mariana. I'm a College of Business senator, and the current project I'm working on is primarily focusing on international students within the College of Business field. As President Zellmer mentioned today, it might be challenging and hard for international students specifically to get a job after graduation in the United States. Not everybody knows, but only STEM majors get 3 years of optional practical training, which is also known as full-time employment after graduation. Other majors, including College of Business majors, only get 1 year. And after that, most employers are not willing to sponsor their visas because they would rather hire a domestic prospect rather than the qualified, skilled international prospect, just because of the visa sponsorship. So what I realized recently, our institution is not lacking the resources for international students, it's lacking the accessibility. Freshman and sophomore international students are already having a hard time navigating through the website. It's hard for them to find all those organizations, clubs, resources, etc. So last semester I established the Recognized Student Organization for international students within the College of Business. This semester my focus was on collecting the data and the information of the employers, companies who have a history of hiring international students in the past in the United States. In all the states, not only business majors, we so far have been working closely with the club's advisor, Samantha Campa, who is also the talent program specialist in the College of Business. We were working with her on a list. We already have a pretty long list of those companies, firms, employers who are hiring internationals. Our school's graduates and those companies and firms are located in different states as well. Also, we're trying to make our meetings more interactive. This semester, we started having a group of exchange Japanese students attending our sessions, and this is a great opportunity for us because they can share their perspective as representatives of in other universities, in other countries' university. As well as we're trying to host more informational sessions. Not that long ago, we had a CPT, which is Curricular Practical Training Internship Informational Session, featuring Samantha Camp, our club's advisor, and Kearney Center Immigration Advisor Erica Dooley. And we're also thinking of inviting more guest speakers, including maybe the attorney, as President Selmer was speaking today about that. So this is pretty much all I have. Our meetings are bi-weekly. We're actually meeting this Friday at 4:30 p.m. and CSU 201. So if you guys are interested, we will most likely have a resume workshop because the next week is going to be the career fair. So we're probably going to prepare for that. End of my center report, and I'll stand for questions.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Senator Domenici? Any questions at all? Seeing none.
Thank you.
Senator Parikh.
Hello all, keeping this query quick and crisp. I am Niti Parikh. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm an off-campus senator. And a lot of off-campus residents mentioned how the academic buildings and the connected buildings starting from Trafton East, which connects to almost every other building, closes pretty soon, and it becomes hard for us to walk in snowstorm and severe harsh weather conditions. Regarding this, I have been in contact with Sandy, the director of security, but she conveyed that she might not be the first person to contact, although she was in support. After that, I have been in contact with Jane Kohler, the leading scheduling assistant, regarding the current building hours. And right now, according to my research, the academic buildings, including Trafton East, closes 11 p.m. during weekdays, 6 p.m. on Fridays, and close during Saturday, Sunday, which does not mean that we don't use resources like library and we have to walk outside. That's all I have for my personal project. Alongside this, I'm working with Senator Dustin for student health insurance, and I will be working with Senator Zigweed for campus kitchen. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Senator Parikh? Any questions? All right. Seeing none. Thank you. Senator Nirala.
Hello, everyone. Trying to keep it short. I'm Senator Roshit Nirola. I use he, they pronouns. I'm representing College of Science, Engineering, and Technology. As part of my major project that I'm working on this year is a navigation app around campus. We all know how it gets pretty difficult to find rooms around campus. If it's a basement, if it's in third floor, which room exactly. We get lost in Trafton, Armstrong, everywhere else. So I wanted to work on a navigation app that lets you know how you get to a room. But one of the major advantages of that app would be to use it during winters when winter gets very harsh in Minnesota, and I'm not from around here. For my project, I've met with Catherine Hutches, the Assistant CIO for Solutions Delivery at IT Solutions. I've met with Matt Bodanik, alongside Kathy. I've talked with the Director of Computer Science, Dr. Lynn Chase, and all of them are very optimistic about this project. Looking at the timeline, if everything works out correctly, we might have a pilot of that app ready by the end of academic year. I also recognize that the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology is a very diverse body, and so I'm fully supporting and helping out Senator Parikh on her project for making it easy for students to access buildings during winter times and during night and evening hours. I'm also fully supporting Senator Destin and Senator Roberts in their advocacy for split payment in the international health insurance, which I think is a very requirement that we hope the student government body passes unanimously. And I would like to yield to questions.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. All right, Senator Victor Wynn.
Hello, everyone. So I know it's 6 p.m., so I'm going to give it as long as possible. So hi, everyone. So my name is Victor Wynn, and I represent for all the business students. So as a business student, there's nothing more important than getting an internship during the school, and that's how you land. That's how you get a good job after graduation, and also how to build on it.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Hello. Okay. So As I say, there's nothing more important than get the first internship. That's how business students get their job after graduation. Build networking and build their resume. So my goal for this year is try to create an investment club, so business students can get their hands on experience, education, researching, and data analysts from the stock market. So last week, Mariana and I have a meeting with the influencer, and she loved the idea, and she supported my idea. So the last few months, I have been reaching out to other schools. They have like big investment clubs, so I'm waiting for their response right now. And besides that, I have been working with John and other OSO for the ULE conference. It's going to happen in November. So that's my project right now.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? All right. Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Then with that, my friends, we have no new business, no old business. Do we have any announcements? Anyone here for announcements? I'm going to... yielding to David? Okay. Okay.
Okay, well, this is good. Hockey, we have 2 hockey dates, Friday and Saturday, and we have bus transportation down there that's free. So for those of you who need a ride, or any of your constituents that might need a ride, you can certainly hop the Route 7 bus over by Nelson on Friday nights and get down there. We run from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So if the game is over with, the game starts at 7, you might be able to get your way back. Saturday, we're going to have a bus out in front of the Student Union at 5:30, and it'll get you down there. The game starts at 6 against the University of Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. But we're not going to be able to get you a bus back there until 11 at night. But anyway, we do have transportation both nights, free of charge, thanks to Mankato Transit System.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Then in that case, VP Ibrahim, did you wish to go?
Yes, I'm waiting for my mic.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you. Okay, so we are awarding this September Senate for the month, who spent their time working on behalf of our students to ensure that all university policy are helpful and working for all the students. So congratulations to Senator Robert.
Thank you.
We should start allowing for acceptance speeches when we don't have so much on the agenda. But Senator Roberts, you are next for announcements.
First off, thank you. Second, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I say it every week. But speech and debate, AH 311, 4 p.m. on Mondays. Come by. Improve your public speaking skills. However, I do have a second one on that about inviting you to the Bethany Lutheran tournament. It is the 28th and 29th of October, and it's over at Bethany Lutheran, just across town here. If you want to watch some speech and debate competition rounds, or potentially want to get involved with the team. Alrighty, I yield.
All right, then in that case, Senator Wynn.
All right, so I said it last week, I'm saying it again this week. On the 30th of this month at St. John the Baptist Catholic Church down on South Broad Street, the concert choir and chamber choirs will be performing. That performance is at 3 o'clock, and students do have discounted tickets as well to that. But yeah, I'd love to see some more students down there to help support our music students. On the other hand, I also have an event on Thursday. We're going to be tabling with my RSO Turning Point USA. We're pushing out more get out the vote stuff. And then we are also putting together a group of individuals on Election Day to drive students to the polls if they have no way to get there. So if anybody is interested in doing anything like that, please let me know.
Thank you very much. Senator Destin.
Hi, so next week we're going to have like the International Student Health Insurance Resolution. We send it for vote. I want to encourage everyone here, if you need a copy of that resolution to review, to make amendments, I'm open to that. I can send you a copy of that next week.
I have extras for the meeting.
President has extra. If you need a copy of it, you can grab one and reach out to me if you want to make any amendments to it. But next week is going to be the week of the International Student Health Insurance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Zelmer.
Okay, I have a couple things. First, congratulations, Senator Goff. You'll be getting an email from me this week. Just set up a time to chat and have a fun little forum. Other than that, I need more people to serve on the Elections Commission. If you are graduating or you aren't planning on running for anything, this is like, honestly, if I could serve on it, I would, because I feel like the Elections Commission gets the best drama. They get to also, well, I didn't say that. Sorry, John just laughed really loud, so it's true. You also get to help decide the rules, so please let me know if you can serve on that. We also need an odd number for if any stuff comes up. If you're running, you can't be on the Elections Commission. Other than that, tomorrow, so on yesterday night, I forgot to put this in my report, there was the House District 18B candidate forum held here on campus. I didn't know about this until I saw it on a CSU door, so I went. There were some great questions. Make sure you look into your candidates before you vote for House District 18B. Tomorrow, there is first Congressional District Candidate Forum for the U.S. House of Reps at South Central College from 6 to 7:30. Again, tomorrow, 6 to 7:30, First Congressional District Candidate Forum. So that's also a big election up on the debate, or up on for election. And then there's a few others that are being held by Greater Mankato Growth on Tuesday the 18th, so next week, Tuesday. The Mankato Mayor and Council Candidate Forums will be held. Oh, excuse me. And then on the 20th, don't know what day of the week that is, that would be a Thursday. On Thursday the 20th, the Blue Earth County Board of Commissioners Candidate Forum will be held. Those are both at City Council chambers in the Mankato room. But yeah, tomorrow, big debate, or candidate forum, not debate. So make sure you all show up at South Central for those. I yield.
All right.
I have copies as well.
Senator Wenzel.
Neurodiversity activist meeting on Friday in Fresco 105 at 1 p.m. That's all.
All right. Senator Larson.
Yeah, so it is the last week to register to vote. Pre-registration ends on Tuesday, so tell your friends to vote, tell your roommates to vote, tell people on the floor to vote, or just get that pre-registration done. It makes election day so much easier, and so I really, really recommend encouraging yourself. You should register to vote. But you should also encourage all of your friends to register to vote as well.
All right, thank you very much. Is that an announcement from Mark Constantine? Absolutely, go right ahead.
Just want to let you know that the Student Allocations Committee and the Student Union Board both have met this past week. I just want to thank the leadership for giving us some people for that way. We'll be electing chair and vice chair for those positions at the next meetings, hopefully. The Union Board will be starting to work on the budget for the CSU. That's one of the first things they work on, where different members of the CSU operations team will come in and present their budgets to the group, because ultimately they're the ones that will be presenting to all of you for that part. The Student Allocations Committee had started their work. Their first resolution was on your consent agenda today. They voted on that first one themselves. And a big part of that first is orientation for that group. There's a lot to learn, but we've got a great group, and just want to let you know that we're moving forward with those two groups. Thank you.
Amazing. Do we have any other announcements for today? John.
Thank you, Speaker Novak. I visited with the Student Affairs Committee today to talk a little bit about the things that I do with the off-campus housing program. So this is going to be not news to those committee members, but a couple things coming up. Last Wednesday, I had the first of 5 Renting 101 info sessions that's targeted towards new students or first-year students who will be living off campus next year, or anybody for that matter who's going to be moving off campus for the first time and who'd like to have questions answered about the housing search and the leasing process and all that kind of stuff. So first one was last week, had over 100 students in attendance, and so the feedback on these sessions is always good. The second one's tomorrow at 3:30 in CSU 201, so right down the hall. If there is anybody around this table, Student Affairs Committee members had the opportunity to grab these, but I have the flyers for this. I have the housing fair flyers as well, because the first housing fair of the year will come up on November 1st. So just a commercial for those opportunities if there's interest. So again, the sessions have proved to be very popular over the past few years. So.
All right, do we have any final announcements? Any other announcements? And seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on. We would normally do roll call motion.
You're going to hate me for this.
It's fair for today because we're overtime. Do we have a second? Second. Do we have any dissent to waive second roll call? No dissent. All right. Meeting is officially adjourned at 6:10.